Welcome, Modern Tactical Shooting. Now in this video, I'm going to be talking about doing a peel for real in combat. Now what is a peel? Well, it is a break contact technique where the emphasis is on speed in getting away from the enemy. And really it's designed for, I would say, squad size elements, not a 30-man platoon, but smaller elements. And that's why it's well practiced in scout platoons and in LRS units and on special forces teams because we're operating than less than 30 guys. So this is a great technique for it. You might have heard it referred to as the Australian peel. That is where the unit collapses in on itself. But there's also left and right peels. And it's often, I would say in the last 10 years, you might have heard it referred to also as the last man technique. And I'll talk about why that's called that way here in a second. But yes, I'm going to focus on doing a peel for real in combat. It is just one aspect of this one mission we were going on. I'm going to cover the mission in its entirety. And if you've seen my deception used in gunfight videos, this is going to take place the same time frame, going back to Logar, Afghanistan back in 2015 when I was serving with ODA 3122. So let's get into doing a peel for real in combat right now. So this peel technique is nothing we created. It's been around forever. MACV-SOG used it in Vietnam to great effect. And really its origins probably go back to Australian, Brit, and New Zealander forces fighting in Malaya, Singapore, Borneo, places like that in World War II, in jungle warfare when they're operating in small units going against the Japanese. That's probably where it's got its origins. Hence, one of the methods is the Australian peel. So we weren't doing anything new. We were doing a well-known technique in the peel. So let me break down how we actually execute the peel. I'm going to be using a very rudimentary slideshow, so bear with me, but it's all the skills I have as far as animation. All right, so in this graphic, I've got a little fire team element here. And yes, that's all overhead pictures of me. Now, whenever you take enemy contact, you're going to get online and return fire. And then once the decision is made to break contact, well, then you're going to call out the direction and distance that you're going to go. Now, in this graphic right here, I'm going to be showing a peel to the right. And to initiate movement, if it's a peel right or peel left, the person farthest from the direction that you want to go, they're actually going to initiate movement. So the command of peel right is given, and this person right here, they're going to peel off, and they're going to not really stop, but as they pass that first person on the peel right, they're going to touch them and yell last man, letting them know they are the last person. And then that first person, they're going to sprint off to whatever rally point they decided to. So that person's going to, usually when you call this command, you give a direction, a distance, like peel right 500 meters. So that person knows they're going to be sprinting 500 meters. Also, when you get that command to, hey, we're going to peel right, left, or do an Australian peel, when you are that first person, and really every person does this, you're going to fire a few more rounds, and then you're going to turn to the outside, kind of doing almost a 360, really a 180. That's to check to make sure you are truly the last person, so you're not going to leave anybody hanging. And then you move to the next person. Again, tap them and tell them last man. Now, there's two techniques when you initiate movements, and I've practiced it both ways over the years, is once you get that command, hey, we're going to peel left or right, and it's your time to initiate movement. Some ways we practiced it before in the past is you just take a few extra shots and then you get up, do your turn, and move out. Or when it's your turn, you go to full auto and you empty whatever remaining rounds are in that magazine to help lay down suppressive fire, and then you get up and you move out. And we practice it both different ways. But back to the graphic. So that person's moved on out, and then we're going to repeat the process. They're going to do that 180, touch until that last person, last man, until they're all sprinting off in the direction that was called. So that is a basic right peel. There's also a left peel. And again, if it was a left peel, the rightmost person, they would go ahead and they would be the first person moving. I'm not really going to get into the Australian peel, but basically when you're traveling in a line and you make contact, once everybody lays down lead, you start collapsing in on yourself. The frontmost person to the threat, they're actually going to start running back first. Now, again, this is a highly practiced technique. Done it during my 26 years, tons of different times. And if you go to Mid-South Center of Combat Shooting, which we used to go to a ton of way back when I was in 5th Special Forces Group, it's not just a technique you can use in the jungle or a heavily wooded area. At Mid-South, they had this huge urban facade where you would move from point to point within the facade, starting out with junked out cars and moving through a little urban area. And across the way would be a bunch of targets you would engage from all these different openings. And you would start out as a two-man team, and you would basically kind of last man through it. You'd run to a spot, engage targets, your buddy would run by, touch you, yell last man, they'd go to the next spot, and you would leapfrog through it. And then you would do it as a four-man team. So you're basically peeling through this giant array. It was tons of fun, and you would always do it for who had the fastest time. But it was a really cool event at Mid-South, and the targets you were shooting at, some of them were static, some were moving. It's a really good time. But basically you were peeling through this very large urban facade, shooting facade for practice. Now, I know that feeble PowerPoint I just showed probably was not the best way to try and show or describe a peel, but you can see a peel done pretty well in the movie Tears of the Sun. There's a huge battle at one point, and they're about to be overwhelmed by hundreds of fighters, and they do a peel right, almost picture perfect. You can see the guys start peeling off and tapping each other, but if you look closely at the very beginning and you listen to Bruce Willis, and I'm not going to play the sound in the clip, he actually yells peel left. So that would be the incorrect call. Since they start going to their right, that would actually be a peel right. So it's a small movie mistake. But they show a peel right pretty good in that movie clip, almost picture perfect in its execution. So let me get into, or let me set the stage for that mission that we're going on. Again, this is back in 2015, my last tour in Afghanistan. So this would be our 6th mission outside the wire, and all the previous missions we'd made enemy contact on. And we're actually working with another ODA 3125. We were taking turns taking the Commando Kandak out on missions. And actually the week prior, they had made pretty good contact in central Logar. And we were basically going back to that same area that they got in an engagement in. There was a known insurgent house that we knew they were operating out of. We wanted to hit that specific house and clear the area. Now, I have photos of taken during some of the lulls, but I don't have a lot of photos out of the mission because we were too busy fighting. I got a few, but not a whole lot. So I'm going to go over it as best I can in kind of my graphics here. But you'll see in the graphics the terrain of Logar. It's farm fields separated by rows of trees with a lot of structures throughout the whole province there. So a very rural area, but a lot of urban areas. So we're going to be clearing from the south, from the north, and going south through the province. And again, it's our 6th time outside the wire at this point. We were infilling at night, waiting for daylight to come up, because insurgents don't come out to fight at night. They come out during the day. So we actually want to try and draw their fire so we can maneuver on them. So looking at the graphics right here, we're going to infill from the north. And we're basically going to sit here and wait for the sun to come up. And then we're going to split into 2 different elements, a mounted and dismounted element. And the majority of the team, with the team leader, they're going to move dismounted down to the known insurgent location. And then I'm going to be standing by in the vehicles waiting to maneuver to support them. Now, this photo right here, I had a buddy take. This is as the sun's coming up, and I'm basically standing by the MATV, waiting to support the team as they need. Here's a picture of my buddy rocking his scar right there. Right there, you can see an Afghan Humvee in the background, and we're waiting for word when to maneuver. So the team is going to move dismounted. Now, I have the majority of the Afghan commandos. And while the team is maneuvering down to that known insurgent location, this is one of the rare times the Afghan commandos actually took it upon themselves to start clearing due south, basically doing a movement to contact through the area. This photo right here, I'm trying to keep up with the Afghans with the vehicles to now support them. I snapped a quick picture as we're going from building to building. Now, it was a very tight area, and I really couldn't provide any effective overwatch with the vehicles. And at this point, the Afghans commandos had made contact with insurgents, so they were fighting south of my position. And I didn't really have eyes on them, and I didn't have eyes on the team. We were separated probably by about a kilometer, and it was just myself and one or two other Americans from the ODA. And again, I had a majority of the Afghans that didn't push forward at my location. And actually, myself and a teammate, we went to the roof of a building to try and observe the Afghans and observe where the team is, because at this point, the team had already hit the insurgent house. They found it laden with as basically a cache with weapons and all this stuff. So they decided they were going to detonate the house fully, which they did. So I'm waiting about a kilometer off with the vehicles, and to link up, I called them into my position. So they were going to move to my element, since again, I had all the trucks and the heavy weapons and things like that. But myself and a buddy, we actually went to a roof of a building to try and observe everything going on. And it was a horrible decision, because at this point, the Afghans were fighting due south of our position. Once we got to the roof to try and observe what was going on, myself and a buddy of mine, we drew a ton of fire at us. So much so we basically had to low crawl off the roof to avoid being shot. The roof didn't have a lip on it, nothing to hide behind. We were completely exposed. So it was a horrible position. But it was at this building I was going to wait for the team to link up with me. So in this graphic right here, that's the position where me and my teammate are at. We're trying to overwatch to the south where the Afghans are doing the fighting. And the team is coming from the east, and they're basically following this road right here. And they literally were moving down, and they're about 20 yards from my position when they actually came under fire from the south. So the team did what they're trained to do. They were kind of already in a line going down that road. They turned left, and they laid down a base of fire where the incoming fire was coming from. Now, it wasn't like in Tears of the Sun. There wasn't hundreds of insurgents getting ready to overwhelm us, but there was enough fire that guys just weren't going to get up and start running around. And they were kind of exposed on that road. There was just trees. There was no hard cover. And I don't know if it was myself or the team leader, because I was about 10, 20 yards from them, that yelled, "Peel right." It was one of us. I honestly don't remember which one of us yelled it, but a peel right to peel into me where I'm at the corner of these buildings for hard cover. And the team did just that. They called peel right. The farthest left man went, and all the other guys started the peeling motion into the building where I was at. And what was really kind of funny is once the whole team peeled into me, we all actually paused, and we're all looking around like, wow, that was actually kind of cool. We just did a peel for real. While the team was peeling, I was shooting out the corner of the building, trying to provide cover fire also. I actually had an Afghan soldier with me too. I had to stop him from shooting because he wanted to shoot as the guys were running by behind me, and he was behind me. So good chance for some sort of fratricide there. I had to stop him from shooting because the Afghan didn't know exactly what maneuver the team guys were doing. But yeah, that's where we did a peel for real. Again, it wasn't super heavy contact, but it was enough lead flying around that we needed to establish a base fire and then move in an ordered manner, and the peel right is what worked. So let's continue on. I'll cover the entire engagement. Now, we would continue clearing south, and we would kind of do a bounding overwatch between the vehicles, the Afghan commandos, and us moving as a dismounted team. And at this point, I linked up with the entire team. I had a senior E7 in the vehicles trying to provide overwatch, and we would clear south, continuing on through Logar province. Now, here's some photos. In this photo right here, the team's actually getting their gun on. They're engaging a position right here, and eventually we try and talk the vehicle guns onto what they're shooting at. And in this next photo right here, I actually threw my camera at an Afghan soldier, and I was like, hey, quick, get a picture of us. This is in between clearing buildings. So as we came upon buildings, we would clear them. We'd stack up, flow in, sweep, and clear the whole building. We're in between right now. This is kind of a lull. The JTAC, he's got his head down because we have air in play at this time. I believe we had Apaches on station. So I was like, hey, this is a great opportunity to take a pic. We were in cover in this walled compound. So it was right before we were about to get out and get back into it. Now, we would keep clearing on, kind of bounding overwatch the whole way. And we got down to this one building right here where we decided to stop and consolidate. Now, if you look at this graphic, The trucks are in line and we're kind of spaced around this building right here with team members to the east and team members to the west. Now I'm to the west in line with the vehicles because in the far wood line here, we're being engaged pretty heavily by insurgents. There was at least one PKM firing at us, so we were returning fire back. We had Carl Gustavs in play, we had miniguns and 50 cals, and we're lighting up this entire wood line right here and the wood line beyond. But it was definitely across an open field. I was in a pretty good position. I was in cover in a ditch. The enemy didn't spot me at all, and we were laying down the lead. So I had kind of a long range engagement. I remember being at least 400 yards to that other wood line at the time. Now, once there was a lull, I actually walked around to go check on the guys. And what I didn't know, on my side, it was kind of a long range fight. It was calm, cool, it was all collected. We had the heavy weapons, miniguns, just pounding that wood line. So I didn't feel like I was in any danger at all. I walked around the building to check out the guys on the other side. And when I came around the other side, all the trees and everything had bullet holes and everything's all riddled up. And I was like, hey, what's going on over here? What I didn't realize, and I believe I did tell this story in a previous video, is they actually had a whole separate firefight going on the other side of the building. And it was actually kind of a close to medium engagement. What was going on is while we were in this long-range fight right here, to the east, we had guys being engaged by these insurgents from these buildings, and they were only 100 yards away, and the team was taking fire. So in the span of this 50, 60-yard little compound around this building, we had actually two different firefights going on. Kind of a long-range fight going on my side where I had heavy weapons to employ, and then 50, 60 yards away on the other side of the building, we just had team guys lying in ditches and in the dirt, using that for cover and engaging insurgents within 100 yards just with their Mark 18s and stuff and small arms. So two different firefights. And honestly, I was probably more in danger of getting up, not realizing there's an engagement going on behind me and getting shot in the back than from the insurgents I was engaging at. So that was pretty interesting. One more thing that happened right here at this building. Totally true story. You can find my team leader or any team member that was there on the ground. When there was a lull, we had an Afghan Humvee closest to the building, and my team leader called me to the hood of the Humvee. He wanted to lay out a map and go over what our next moves were after this engagement. But we're in the middle of Logar province. So I was like, hey, sir, we probably need to get under cover, maybe go in the building. We're going to start planning our next move. And before we had the chance or he had the chance to say anything, literally a bullet went right over our heads and bounced off the chicken plate of the Humvee gunner's chicken plate. So somebody was definitely targeting us. And of course, at that point, we ducked into cover and all the gunners got back on the guns and we started laying the hate again. This photo right here, this is just one of the many bullet strikes on the chicken plates of the mounted gunners took during deployment. It was pretty thick at times, so just one of the numerous strikes targeted at the gunners of our vehicles. So we would continue on clearing through the south, bounding Overwatch. Now these photos right here, this is just myself and the 18 Delta. We're taking a break, but it was right after this photo in a different position that I was able to double team an insurgent at about 400 yards. Now, if you watch my deception and gunfight video, then you've seen the story how I stole a teammate's shot. He was lined up to hit an insurgent. I made him basically move so I could take a shot, and I completely missed. Well, here I am again with that very same teammate, and he had a bead on an insurgent hiding behind a tree just over 400 yards. Now, he was using a Leopold or some other low LPVO on his rifle. He wasn't rocking an Elcan, so he could see him. And using my VCOG 1-6, I could see him also. So we double teamed this insurgent. He was just over 400 yards trying to hide behind a little narrow tree that provided no cover for him. So that was pretty good, able to get him. And then we would clear on. And this next photo right here is probably one of my most favorite photos. A teammate took it. This is really at the end of our forward advance. Basically, we would chase them out to the southern half of Logar province. We're only going to chase the insurgents so far. We're not going to chase them up into the hills. And there's a point where you can chase them only so far, and you might be going into a baited ambush. They might just retreat and lure you into where they're prepared to engage you again. So we would only deliberately press the fight so far. You can leave the wire every day and stack bodies in Afghanistan. So between myself and the team leader, we would truly only pursue the enemy to a point where, like, you know what, we kick their butts enough for the day. That's going to be far enough. And that's what's going on in this photo right here. You can just barely see it, but my team leader is in a huddle with the Afghan leadership, and they're actually deciding, hey, if this is going to be the limit of our advance for the day right here. But you can see a half full mag. I hadn't tack reloaded yet, but this is at the end of that push south through Logar province. Now, in terms of military operations, that mission went perfectly. We controlled the pace of the engagement the entire time. We didn't take any casualties. Our Afghan commandos didn't take any casualties. And we did push the insurgents completely south out of the province, or at least in that area. And one thing I didn't know until after the mission is, of course, the chain of command or higher ups at the battalion level, they're watching on ISR the entire mission unfold. Now, when we were back pounding those wood lines, because the insurgents would always try and keep distance with us. So as we advanced on a wood line or on a building, they would always pull back to the next wood line to try and keep distance between them and us so they can engage us. They never like to close the distance with us. Well, when we were pounding these wood lines, I couldn't see it, most of the team members couldn't see it. We really didn't know how many insurgents we were up against. We just know, hey, we're taking fire from this wood line, or there's a PKM here or there. Well, the chain of command was watching what was going on with ISR, and what we didn't see is, as we're engaging the insurgents in these wood lines, apparently they were taking dead and wounded away in wheelbarrows behind the wood line. More insurgents would run up to the wood line to engage us, and they would get shot and wounded by us, and then they would use wheelbarrows to basically evacuate their dead and wounded. And I guess the chain of command had called down to the team leader during the engagement, and they were like, hey, keep pouring it on. You're just killing them. You're annihilating them. Keep it up. Keep it up. You are totally crushing them. I didn't find out about this afterwards, talking to my battalion sergeant major, which is Brian Penrod at the time. And he was like, man, you guys were killing it. You were destroying them. And actually, this mission right here, I feel kind of proud of, not because of all the fighting and things like that, but when I first took over 3122, they were known as a rat team. Basically, they were doing intel collecting, like spy type stuff. That was their main mission. I was brought in to change that team back to a normal ODA and prepare for Afghanistan. And I was brought in specifically because my DA background, so they wanted the team to get ready to do the commando mission. And it was this mission right here that really I viewed as, hey, we have arrived. With the chain of command super pleased at how the engagement went and how they called down saying, you guys are killing them, you're crushing them, keep pouring it on. It was really validation for me that, hey, we'd arrived as a team. So that was pretty good feeling. And speaking about 3122, I had about 4 members that were brand new 18 X-rays. I was their first deployment, their first team, and the other half of the team, I had a bunch of senior E7s. I actually was plussed up with an extra 18 Bravo and an 18 Delta. So I had 3 Bravos and 3 Deltas on the team. But I'll say this, I had a ton of E7s with experience, all with more time in Afghanistan than me. I started out in 5th group. I have 3 Iraq tours, but when it comes to Afghanistan, some of the E7s on my team, it was their 4th or 5th deployment compared to my 3rd. So really, I had a lot of great experience to lean on. So, and that was the theme throughout all our missions. I could, if I assign a guy to go do something I know he's going to get done, it allowed me to move around the battlefield knowing I had strong E7s who really knew what they were doing. I wasn't really directing. I was just helping manage the entire fight. And as far as operations overall and manning goes, it wasn't just our team out there. We have attachments. They're known as enablers, or sometimes they're generically called support guys. We have SOT-As. We actually had some regular Army combat engineers that would go out with us from time to time, and a regular Army dog handler. So we had all these enablers with us on our missions also. And I want to say this for the record, they did great. All our enablers were stout throughout every mission we went on. I have zero complaints. And we couldn't have been as successful as we were without our enablers, combat engineers and dog handlers and things like that. SOT-As, they were essential to our success when we were out and about doing our commando mission. So there it is, doing a peel for real in combat. I know, nowhere near as dramatic as it's portrayed in the movie Tears of the Sun, but yeah, we did one under fire. It would be the only time we would do one during that tour. It's the only time I've done one for real in my entire career. But again, that was just one event that took place during that mission. Now, why am I talking about some of my missions? Really because I'm trying to preserve history. Everything that Special Forces and really the military has done in GWOT is fading fast in everybody's memory. Even in the military, it's kind of being forgotten. So I want to try and capture things that real team members have done during our time in GWOT. Now, I talked briefly about being drawn into a baited ambush, and later on, this would kind of happen to my team, and maybe I'll share that in a future video. But as always, hopefully you found this video entertaining and informative. I'm Jeff Gurwitch. Thanks for watching.